Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Ferrari FXXK in multiplayer in Asphalt 9 for the second time. This time I have maxed my car, well, at least to the point where I could without any epic import parts, because I don't have any of those. So it's at rank 3367, and I have to say, this car at 5 stars is a lot like my Egoista, which is at 3 stars. That's basically what it is, a slightly worse version of the Egoista. So if you have this car, you know what the Egoista is sort of like. All races in this video were recorded in the Sheeran Slipstream season. We've got another FXXK as well as a Sheeran in this race. Unfortunately, I wait a bit too long to shockwave at the beginning, and I get knocked down. Now, I'm somehow still in second position, which then quickly goes back to third, but then quickly goes back to second as the Bugatti is its usual glitchy self and wrecks for almost no reason. The car ahead of us is actually a Cadillac CN, which is slower than the FXXK and worse in pretty much every way, so I figured I probably would be able to catch up and beat him. Now, I wasn't so sure about the Sheeran, which is at 3730 rank and a good like 50 miles per hour faster than me. So here I'm going faster than the CN up the ramp and thus land on him, and we're back into first position, even after a knockdown at the beginning. Even though I was able to catch up and get back into first position on the first lap, it is still nice having 2 laps in this season, because while I would rather have a Slipstream season where knockdowns are not allowed, so it would be just pure Slipstream skill, in this season, since you do have knockdowns, the 2 laps provides a nice buffer to catch up. But in this race, we didn't really need it, and the second lap passes uneventfully and we come in first position. Somehow the Sheeran came in last. Not sure how. So in this race, our main competition is a W Motors Lykan Hypersport, which is faster than this car by, I want to say, around 30 miles per hour. I 4-starred mine recently, and while it's pretty good, it's not as good as it used to be because of the nerfed nitro efficiency, which means it struggles to reach its top speed, except on tracks like this one where you're able to keep speed after ramps and stuff like that. You see, we passed him back there because we were able to shockwave down off that ledge and he didn't. And I believe the way that I did the beginning there was pretty good. If you shockwave up to the point where the curve is and then right along the left wall while braking in order to pick up nitro, then you can shockwave off the ledge there and keep your top speed. Because if you go off that ledge without shockwave, you're gonna lose some speed. I've done that plenty of times, and honestly, that is where I've gotten past a lot of times when other people have shockwaved off of it and I haven't. You can also do a 360 off of it, but if you don't land straight, you're also going to lose speed. So yes, I believe this is the best way to do it. So you go along the wall here, then shockwave off, and you'll be good. Here, after some long straightaways, this Lykan is catching up to me again. I knew that I was only 2/3 of the way through the race and he was right behind me, so I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull this off, but I decided to just keep going, do it like I normally do, and not get flustered. That is one of the biggest things in multiplayer. Don't get flustered. If you get flustered, things will go wrong and you will regret it afterwards. That has happened to me plenty of times, so just play it like you would normally. Of course, if you have to change for the circumstances, that's perfectly fine, but just don't do dumb things, basically. And this is the section where fast cars will pretty much always pass you if they haven't before, because they land after that long jump and just are able to keep their speed. Unfortunately, I go into the grass while drifting to save up for shockwave, so that is how I get a bit behind, but I still managed to come in not far behind this guy, holding him off for almost 2 whole laps on Frozenry, which is one of the best tracks for high top speed cars, like the Lykan. What the FXXK lacks in speed, it makes up for in a lot of cases in agility. It is a fairly stable vehicle for Asphalt 9 standards. Its acceleration is good, its nitro efficiency is very good, and overall, it's just a very fun car to drive. While it is a lot like the Egoista, I would say it is a bit less stiff than the Egoista and more bouncy, because the Egoista, when you drive it, it feels very specific, like it goes exactly where you tell it to. This car, you can see a bit more bounce to it. So this race is a very close duel between me and another FXXK, which is slightly lower ranked, but he's in Pro Team and he's a very good driver, so that is why this race was quite close, probably one of the closest ones in this video. I'm not gonna say one of the closest ones of all time again, because I say that a lot, but I will say that my heart was definitely pounding during it. It's races like these where all the speed tricks and momentum tricks and everything that you've learned really come into play. These duels are some of the most fun races that I have had, simply because because it's just you, one other person, and skill is the primary factor if you don't get knocked down and stuff like that. But generally speaking, when I've had duels, especially against people in large clubs that I know pretty well, they're very fun. And this is another reason I really want to have a Slipstream season with no knockdowns, because there, one of us could have gotten knocked down. Either of us could have 360 the other one there, but neither of us did. I'm very happy for that, but unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. Here, we both go up this ramp. He goes up with Shockwave, lands on my side, somehow manages to not knock me down. Then I go over him with Shockwave and don't knock him down. In this race, it almost seemed like knockdowns were turned off, but I know they're not in the season since I've gotten knocked down plenty of other times. It's still just crazy. This whole race is really close, especially around this part where he was right behind me. So at the time I'm recording this, the final day of the Bugatti Chiron special event has just come out. It is a TLE on the Himalayas where the top 10 people, not top 10%, but top 10 people in terms of times will get a special decal for the Chiron. And I think along with their clubs as well. Not 100% sure on that. Unfortunately, a lot of those will likely go to hackers unless Gameloft does an extra good job looking at this event and watching out for them, which I don't exactly expect, so we'll have to see how many legitimate players actually get this decal. We round the final 360-degree turn, and I make sure to stay closer to the inside than I did on the first lap, because that is where he just about passed me by going more on the inside than I did. So I've learned my lesson there, and we come in first place with him not too far behind. Now let's see what happens when you meet a Trion in an FXXK. And on Himalayas no less, which is probably the Trion's best track. As we've seen earlier with the Lykan race, it's where they can just really catch up. So here, because I'm in the front, I drift, and then I get up to do a shockwave, and then I do the same thing I did in the previous race, glide along the wall, and drift until I get enough nitro to do a shockwave. This is probably really the best thing to do in almost any car, except for the slower ones that have better nitro efficiency, in which you can just climb the hill with nitro normally. As you might be able to guess, the Trion is the car directly behind us right now. As we're coming up to this ramp here, I do the thing that I have learned to just go up there without flat spinning, which is a good thing to do in fast cars because you don't really risk wrecking upon landing if you hit the wall too hard over there, because you can start drifting earlier. I use this speed trick along the wall to try to fend off the Trion just a little bit, but he does the same thing and picks up a whole lot of speed and manages to get ahead. However, we will see that the FXXK is not left completely in the dust. I'm still close enough to him to be able to stay in his slipstream, meaning that I'm going to be able to shockwave up this ramp and hopefully get a bit closer to him. However, this is one of those tracks that don't really have any super sharp turns except for those ones right before the ice bit that cause the high top speed cars to slow down. There's so many just long curves and stuff. Here I catch up to him a bit because I did the shockwave thing off there and he didn't, but that car is so fast that he just gets right back up to speed again. Cars like the FXXK and the Egoista would be best on tracks like Rome, or any variant of a track that does not have a whole lot of straight sections, especially after ramps. But of course, since you do not know what track you're going to get, I generally recommend going into multiplayer with something that can do at least decently well on all tracks, because this Trion was fairly easily able to beat us here, but you can see it wasn't by a big margin, so what would have happened if he'd met us on Rome? Well, he'd probably have gotten smoked. So since you don't know what track you're going to get, always going in with the super agile car that's really slow is going to cost you on tracks like Himalayas, whereas always going in with a car that is super fast but has really bad nitro efficiency like the Trion is going to be easy on Himalayas but bad on other tracks. So yes, it's best to find one that is good on a whole lot of tracks, like say for example the Fenner or the Chiron, or something that is at least somewhat quite balanced, something that does have quite good top speed to deal with the longer straighter tracks, but one that has good maneuverability and fairly good nitro efficiency and acceleration to deal with the more twisty ones. This car is definitely on the slower and more agile side. Which brings us to a general review of the car. It is a very fun car to drive. As I said, it is a lot like driving the Egoista, and you can definitely pull out some very good wins with it in multiplayer. Just be aware that it's slower than a lot of the other S-Class cars. But if we get a season where, for example, they don't have the Trion and Chiron and Fenner and stuff like that, then this car is going to be a very good contender. Even in this season, with the Chirons and Fenners Hypers and Lykans and all those much faster cars running around, I was using this car, above 1900 rating. In this race, I'm at like 1930 or something, so even if you're up this high, it can still do fine. To sum it all up, it's a great car, especially at max. Our other contestants in this race are an FXXK and Centenario, and we beat them both, coming in first place. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 and 9 content, and I'll see you later. Goodbye!